Okay guys, I'm not sure how this is gonna go. I'll try not to stand in front of this too much. I'll try to talk. I hope you can hear. This is just an iPhone something, I don't know what I've got, but I'm gonna talk about the endosymbiont theory. So we talked about it before in class. If you recall my $20 poster, I'm pointing to the back of the room right now. There were two red lines, if you recall, way back. Mitochondria invaded cells and chloroplasts invaded cells. At one point, they were their own organism. So I've got a color-coded diagram or color-coded diagrams here to show you. So here we have big cell, there we have little cell, okay? Big cell, little cell. Let's practice very quickly, shall we? This one is good, little cell, and this one is big cell. Very good, you got this. All right, you haven't gotten stupid yet. Okay. Now, each of these, I just drew the membrane as a line. So we got purple and we got fuchsia or pink. Now, remember, these membranes are phospholipid bilayers, so it's a double membrane, okay? So I kind of showed that here to show this is 2 layers, this is 2 layers, and I hope I just pointed to something that you actually can see in my phone. So we have this organism and this organism. So at one point they became one, and this is, a potential way. Well, this is how it happened, and we have evidence for this. So small one begins to the plasma membrane. Remember, a fancy word for saying cell membrane. Invaginates. Okay, it starts being pushed in by the small, and notice it gets in further. We've almost closed it off completely, and ultimately we've closed it off completely. So this large cell has engulfed this smaller cell. Now, when we look at this, what we see is we got a bilayer from the large organism, and we have the bilayer from the smaller organism that is now part of this. So we have 2 phospholipid bilayers, okay? So we got a lot going on here. Now, recall back 2 days ago when we were on photosynthesis still. So over here I have a chloroplast. So here we have the outer membrane of the chloroplast. We never talked about it. What we talked about a lot was the thylakoid membrane and what the outside of it and the inside of it. So here we have those stacks, and they call that grana of those thylakoid discs, all right? So each of those, that's actually sort of that organism of a long time ago. So this whole thing, there is a membrane, a phospholipid bilayer, the thylakoid membrane, and then we have from the outside. So when scientists analyze these, the inner membrane, the outer membrane, what they found out is they are distinctly different from each other, just like what we have for mitochondria. Now, we didn't go over chapter 7. We're not going over aerobic respiration, but we are in chapter 4, and it has a nice long section on mitochondria. I'd spend some time on it since we don't get to do all of chapter 7. So I've drawn one of those here. So again, we have the organism, the original organism, the plasma membrane, the phospholipid bilayer, purple. And then that invading organism, whatever it was, here we have that inner phospholipid bilayer. Pretty fancy name, inner membrane, outer membrane, that's what it's called. Inside here it is a special name, it's called the matrix. If you're a big fan of the movie, it has nothing to do with these, I don't believe. So the endosymbiont theory, it's not just this cockamamie idea. Remember, it's got the word theory in it. And whenever we're talking theory in science, it is a major big deal. So we have 2 distinctly different membranes. How can you tell? Well, you look at, remember we have that the phosphate portion of the head, and then that lipid bilayer. We know we have unsaturated and we have saturated tails. So when we look at these, we can see the difference between what are these heads and tails like versus the heads and tails that make up this membrane. And we find out they're distinctly different. We find that in chloroplasts and we find that in mitochondria. Pretty cool stuff. And also the proteins found in those phospholipid bilayers, those are unique as well. So anyway, this is the endosymbiont theory. I hope this gives some clarification to what the book's talking about. I'm a science teacher. I find it really cool. I don't expect you to. Hope you guys are well. See you next time.